Good morning. How's it going out there? I'm Mike Brightman with Brightman Designs, and we offer design, drafting, visualization, and workflow training services. And that's really what we're talking about today is workflow, specifically Lumion Workflow. So thanks for joining us. This is our first webinar in the Lumion Workflow series. We've got like at least 3 more of these to do, and I'm sure we'll come up with a few more along the way. But this one is all about daytime renders. So let's see. Think of it like this. This webinar is going to be the quick version of the workflow. And this afternoon, we're going to release the full-length tutorials. So this way you have the webinar to get interested in learning and understand the whole process and see it done quickly. But then you have the extended tutorials so that you can really learn. And I'm using the exact same notes, the exact same outline that I used for the tutorials to do this webinar. So I'm just going to rip through these tutorials real quick in about an hour, show you the whole process, all 1 hour long, and then the extended tutorials are full step-by-step instructions so you can really kind of follow along and take your time and learn it. So we'll release those this afternoon. Be sure that you have RSVP'd. If you take a look at our workflow series day render page at the bottom, we do have an RSVP form to fill out. So if you fill that out with your name and email, we will email back all of the videos and you'll be the first to know. So with that said, also, if you're on YouTube, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. That's another way that you'll always be informed, always know what's going on. So, okay, so here's the deal. Lumion is by far the fastest and easiest rendering program. Now, I think that even calling Lumion a rendering program is a bit underselling it. So really, Lumion, it creates stills, animations, virtual tours, and virtual reality. But it also has a huge object library of several thousand cars and people and trees. They're all pre-animated. They're blowing in the breeze. The trees are blowing in the breeze. The cars have wheels that turn. The people are walking and moving. There's also a huge library of materials. So you're getting the ability to create all the stills, animations, virtual tours, and virtual reality. You're getting all the objects, all the materials. Lumion is really more than a rendering program. It's a one-stop shop. It's a plug-and-play solution for creating architectural presentations. It's everything you need. All right. So today I'm going to show you my proven method for creating stills. All right. We're just going to focus on stills. But really everything you're learning today on the stills can be applied to any of these other presentation types. And we're going to focus again on daytime renders, but I am going to spice it up and we're going to create some seasonal renders. So winter, spring, summer, and fall. And that'll make for some interesting challenges when it comes to adding objects, layering, and some of those kind of special effects. And I will also mess around just a little bit with lighting. All right. Now, I can tell you that if you watch these tutorials that we're going to release today, if you watch these, you will have an obvious path to success with Lumion. You're going to have a repeatable process that works with any project, and you're going to have the confidence to develop your own visual style. So I promise, if you just stick with me, watch those tutorials this afternoon, this is what we do day in and day out. We just create, at Brightman Designs, we knock out these visualizations all day long, and this is how we do it, and I'm about to show you. So let's get started. Okay, first things first, we need to grab a SketchUp model. So I'm going to head over to the 3D warehouse. All right. Now, on the 3D warehouse, if I just type into here Lumion Workflow like that and hit enter, and let's just do a quick search, and there it is. This is our Lumion Workflow series model. And this is a real project, all right? So we actually turned this around for an architect that was designing an addition to a building on a campus on the East Coast there. So check this out, 7 megabytes. This is a super lightweight model. We're gonna download this as a SketchUp 2019 model. I'm going to save it in my temp folder in my webinar, and we'll just leave the file name intact, and I'll hit save. All right, so that super lightweight 7 megabytes drops into that temp folder. I'll click on it at the bottom left corner of my screen, and that way that's going to automatically open up in SketchUp. All right, so once that gets opened, we're going to take a look at how we actually put this model together. So keep in mind that you don't have to model everything, all right? So a couple tips. You don't have to model everything. You don't want to model the backside. You want to be aware of how many surfaces you're including in your model. You want to be aware of the materials and where you're getting your materials and how big those materials are. So those are all the things that you got to keep an eye on. There's a lot of different strategies for that, but I just want to make the point that like this campus building, it's a 7 megabyte model. I mean, that's tiny. All right, so I'm going to click on Design. That Design tab at the top left corner, that's what really lets me see the SketchUp model. This cover image is what I did for the thumbnail of that model, so it shows up as a Lumion rendering. But if you click on Design, you can really orbit around and take a look at this model. It's super lightweight, super snappy, and you can see that we did not model the backside. We were on a deadline. This is where you work on fixed fees and you need to get things done and out the door. So we're not going to waste our time agonizing over everything on the backside. We know that we need a couple shots from like here, here, and here. Something like that, So only model what you need. All right, so this is the SketchUp model, and we have a ton of tutorials on SketchUp at sketchupforprofessionals.com, and you can learn how to model like we do as well. But for today, we're talking about Lumion. So let's split our screen and hop over into Lumion. All right, so I want to show you how easy it is to get your SketchUp model over into Lumion. So this is Lumion right here. When I click to start a plain scene, that's going to fire up a brand new scene like that. And the thing about Lumion, I mean, it's just this blows me away every time that like the lighting, it looks like it's supposed to. It's not like a black background with a bunch of meshes and boxes and dialogues. It's just a super clean program that's very intuitive and easy to understand, really. All right. So all I need to do in SketchUp is click this button. It says Start Live Sync. This is the Lumion Live Sync toolbar. When I click that play button, it drops my model over into Lumion, and you can start the camera sync, and now you can see that my model is ready to rock and roll. All right, so I can always kind of adjust my camera views and take a look. And on a webinar, it's tough because I'm splitting my screen, so this isn't like the most valuable view, but I'll tell you, this is super handy if you're doing a presentation and you can max out your Lumion screen and then on the monitor for everyone to watch, and then max out your SketchUp screen so you can move around and present. So anyway, what we're going to do now is get this model put into place. So I'm going to maximize my Lumion screen, and I'm going to select that model, and let's see, we just want to move it straight up. Okay, so one way to do that is if I back up a little bit, I can see the node here. I can move it straight up above the ground plane. So I don't want to have anything conflicting with that ground plane. Now, what I always do is I use this type in command. So I click there, and then I set the Y dimension to be 5. I always set my models at 0, 5, 0. The reason I do this is so that if I'm going to import other models, like let's say I build my site in SketchUp, I need to pull in a building from Revit, and I've modeled a piece of art in Rhino. Well, I can merge all those in, and if I know the base point, it makes it really easy to pull all those models in together and drop them in place where they're supposed to be, rather than eyeballing it. It's got to be perfect. So 0, 5, 0, that's where it's at. Okay, so then the next part of this is going to be for getting our model set up is I'm just going to kind of float. Well, let's zoom in and take a look at the bottom here. Where our model meets the site. Now, I really want the Lumion terrain to kind of mound up. And so I'll go to my landscape tool, go to raise, and my brush size, I can make that a little bit bigger. And I think the brush speed is probably okay. And see, I can just kind of drag along here and set up I'm going to reduce my brush speed just a little bit. All right, so we'll go and just kind of drag all the way along here and just get that Lumion terrain to kind of sync up with my building. And it's okay to like zoom way out and just kind of go through here. And I don't have to be real precise with this because first off, I'm not going to see that backside of the building, and I'm really going to frame my views in such a way that like, I'm going to see only what we want. I'm only going to show what I want to show. All right, but let's go zoom in on this. And what I'm trying to do here is if like I set up my view to be, I know that this is the view I'm going to use. It's some roughly like this. And what kills any sort of view in any rendering program is when you can see that horizon line. So I just want a little bit of a mound here so that I can build up my landscape, build up my trees, and kind of cover that horizon line and make that a little bit easier. So that's really what I'm getting at here. All right, so let's see. Let me double check my notes here, make sure I covered everything. All right. And the last thing I'm going to do in this portion is I'm going to adjust our sun and change the heading. There we go. I want to get those shadows kind of falling on the front of the building there. Cool. All right, so our design model is imported. We use that Lumion Live Sync. That's super easy just to kind of kick it from SketchUp straight over into Lumion. And now we need to start texturing. So what I'm describing, like just to take a step back and look at the big picture here. We import the model, we assign materials, and then we add entourage objects, and then we work with effects. All right, so that's the steps we're going through. We've completed this first step of pulling our design model in. We're good to go. We've got the environment kind of mounted up, and it's time to add materials. So let's do just that. Hop back into Lumion and add some materials. Now, you can see that we have this first material here. If I click on my materials tab, I can hover around and you can see that Lumion is picking up the material names that come through from SketchUp. So here you've got a material called blue glass. Now, if a material has the name glass in it, it's going to automatically show up as Lumion glass. All right, so I always go after glass, grass, and water. And so we've got our glass taken care of automatically. Let's get to our grass. And I'll just give you a quick pointer here. This is what I always do with the grass is I push the grass down by like an inch or two and let my curbs kind of pop up. This and also my sidewalks and all that. That way my grass isn't just growing like right at the same plane as my sidewalk. I think it just looks better if the grass is pushed down just a touch. All right, so we always push our grass down an inch or two. I click on the material. And if you remember from old versions of Lumion, we had this landscape material. Now, landscape, that was great for the first 8 versions of Lumion, but now where we're at, we've got our nature, 3D grass, and we have all of these different 3D grasses that are absolutely spectacular. So super cool. We've got like, we've got wild grass, clean cut grass, different mow patterns. And honestly, like row grass too, that seems to be the one that I go after the most. And I'll show you a few little tweaks that I make to the grass usually. And that would be, I'll make sure I'm on there. I double click on my row grass and I always make the grass size a little bit smaller. So I like cut that default in half, make the grass length a little bit higher, and then maybe use my grass cut and just trim the grass just a bit. And it seems like I can get a nice look out of that. So, you know, tinker with those settings, see what you come up with, but that's usually where I steer. And honestly, you cannot go wrong with the default settings. Really, with any of the materials in Lumion, if you just go with the default settings, they're gonna look good. Just use those. So, all right, so we've got our grass taken care of. Let's keep working through here. So you can see I've got like some pavement or some asphalt. We've got these white striping. So check this out. I'll click on our blacktop new. I'll go to outdoor and then go to asphalt. On page 2, we have this asphalt wet. Now, I'm really psyched to not use the wet asphalt anymore because we have the new precipitation effect. So I'm going to show you why you don't really need this material that I used to use all the time. We're going to go with just a standard kind of cleaner just dry asphalt, I suppose. So we've got like a worn asphalt and we also have a new asphalt. So I'm going to go with worn and double click on it and do a bit of colorization, and let's see if, you know, just make that a little bit more darker in color. So I think that looks pretty good, maybe even a little bit more on there. And, you know, let me try our new. Yeah, you know, I do like the new better. So I'm going to colorize that, make sure that it's pretty dark, and we're in good shape. All right, now you can see that like the asphalt has, the asphalt's taken care of, but now we have these white striping here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this menu here on my material and I'm going to copy the properties of that asphalt material. Click on this material, make it a standard material, just that way I get this menu. and I can hit the menu and hit paste. That's going to match the properties. It just dumped those same asphalt properties onto the white striping, and now I'm going to colorize 100% and make it white. So this way, I have my white striping that matches the same properties as the black asphalt. So good to go there. Next, let's work on this concrete, all right? So like I have the curbs as one material, and then I have all of our kind of sidewalks on a different material. So I'll click on my curbs here, and let's make that a standard material. And I don't want any gloss, and I don't want any reflectivity. But what I do want is I'm going to want a normal map. So if I click that, and then you can see the relief, you can really see the shadows happening on this side here. So we'll do a better demonstration with the brick, but maybe just a little bit of relief. And then I'll go over here to my weathering. And I always give pretty much every material a bit of weathering. It doesn't need a lot, but so there we go. And then we can round the edges of our concrete. So hopefully that's coming through real clear. I mean, going from like a super hard-edged computer model, and then you just round those edges and it looks like reality. That is, it wouldn't be that super sharp edge. All right, looking good. So what I can do is, again, I can copy these properties, and then I can click on my sidewalk, make it a standard material, and then I can paste my properties there, and we're good to go. Sweet. All right, so then let's see. We've got our asphalt's taken care of, our concrete is taken care of, and our glass. And let's take a look at our brick. All right, so let's just kind of zoom in and get a good look at our brick. All right, I'll click here, make this a standard material, and then I'm going to make well, we don't want any gloss and we don't want any reflectivity, and I do want a normal map. So I'll click to create a normal map. Now you can see how like the shadows are kind of on the wrong side. So let me click this again, and it flips the normal map. All right, so now I can go with the amount of relief. See, this is 0 relief, and when it has a bit of relief, you can really see that brick start to pop through. Now you don't want to go max power. I got to tell you, like on most of these sliders, just a little bit goes a long way. All right, so I'll go about halfway there, and then we're going to go with some weathering. All right, so let me back out a bit and take a look at this. And you don't want it to look old and dirty, but you do want it to look like you're breaking up the surface. And of course, you can choose different weathering types, even if it's aluminum. I mean, try it on brick. See how it looks. Sometimes you just go all the way and just get a good shot of what is the max setting, and then we're going to dial this back down. But I'll probably go with stone and just bring this back down to the point where it doesn't look dirty. It just looks like it's not computer generated. So I think that's pretty cool. A little bit of rounding on the edges. Never hurt anyone there either. All right. So we're in good shape. And then just to finish this out, I would make this a standard material. I would do half the gloss, half the reflectivity, go to my aluminum and give it some weathering, maybe not that much. And then I can always go here, copy, and do the exact same settings on this top one. So just paste like that, and we're good to go. So, all right, I think one more material. This is our window frames, and let me zoom in on this. All right, and so I'll kind of click here and go to standard, and again, cut down our gloss, cut down our reflectivity, bring our edge rounding up, and then maybe some weathering with aluminum, and see where that gets us. All right, so it just kind of gets us some better texture maps. Really breaks up that computer generated look. So all right, make sure that you click on this checkbox here. That is how you save your changes. And so now we've got our brick, we've got these metal pieces at the top, we've got our grass is in good shape, asphalt, concrete. I think we're good to go. I mean, you can see that we don't have a lot of textures in this model. So maybe 8, 9, 10 textures, and away we go. So that's really all it takes. You don't have to have hundreds of textures to make a good rendering. So and that's all about modeling too, is keeping the model clean and really being disciplined about like cleaning up your textures and using the same texture in other places rather than like duplicating it and just throwing a different color on. So Anyways, we're in good shape. So we're going to move from materials and take a look at adding Entourage. Now, I got to tell you that whenever I add the Entourage objects, you really want to make sure that you set up your view first. So we're gonna set up our camera angle, and then we're only going to populate the areas of the model that are showing up in our camera view. All right. So during this demonstration, we're going to add some layers, and we're going to add an import layer, and that's where all of our imports land. And then we're going to add, and these aren't my standard layers, but what we're going to do for this one is going to be all seasons, and then winter, spring, summer, and fall. That way we can have different looks for each one of the different seasons and add those seasonal objects to the appropriate layers. All right. So first things first, let's hop back into Lumion and add some layers. All right. So we'll move over to our Objects tab. On the Objects tab, I'm going to go to the top here, and you can see that we have 5 layers. All right. So we can add in, I'm going to rename my layers. I'll call this one Imports, like that. And then I'll click on layer number 2, and we're going to call this one All Seasons. And layer number 3 will be Winter. And let's back that up. So winter, and then spring, and summer, and fall. And we got to add a layer. All right, so we'll go to layer number 6 now and call this one Fall, like that. Perfect. Now, you can see which layer is active because that active layer, it kind of lingers behind. So right now, layer number 6 is active, and that layer is Fall. All right, and then if I select an object like this imported model, you can see it should be on imports, yeah, because that's the layer that we started on. So imports is live. All right, so anything that I import goes on my imports layer. All seasons is going to get things like our cars, and then each of the different seasonal layers is going to get people that are either wearing shorts or they're going to be in a winter coat, and then also seasonal objects like leaves and some lights too. We'll goof with that. All right, so we're in good shape. We've got our layers set up. So right now, it's kind of nice about Lumion. It's pretty easy to just kind of throw some stuff in your model and then re-layer it after the fact. So right now, I'm really going to work on summer. That's kind of the rendering that I'm going to focus on. So we'll start there, and then we'll move things around. So we need to add a couple of different object types. But before I do any of that, I want to go over to photo mode, and I'm going to pick my view. All right, so I kind of showed you guys that view already, and we're going to go here and set our focal length for exteriors. I always double click on this slider, hit backspace a couple of times, and then type 35, enter. All right, so this way my focal length is at 35, and that's just kind of a good, it's like more in tune with the way that we see the world. And so that way your renderings don't look super distorted or like a fisheye. All right, and then you can always click set eye level at 5'3", and you can click to set your kind of eye level at the horizon essentially. All right, and then so I'll just snapshot the camera, and we can always tweak this around, but I just want to kind of get something in place where I'm seeing the whole building, I'm seeing only the pieces that we modeled, and I might even just kind of back out into the right a little bit just to catch a little bit more of the parking spaces, because that's going to make some decent context to fill this in, and then I'll snapshot that view. All right, so whenever you're in this view, you can always click on Build with Effects, and that kind of gets you right back to your image, and now you can populate your image. And if you kind of move your image around like that, you can always get back and then hit Build with Effects again. So that's what I've been using a lot lately to make sure that I'm only populating the parts of the model that I really need. All right, so I need to populate with some trees back here. We're going to go with, I think there's some oak trees and back here. So let me go to, I'll just go to Build with Effects. That's fine because we don't have any effects right now. It's pretty lightweight. And I'll kind of zoom up like this. And you can see that like I need to populate this area back here. and I need to populate this area back here. All right, so I can go to my place mode, and I can go to my nature library, and let's go first with the search and type in, I'm going to type in oak. Let's see, is that what I wanted? And I think it was elm. I think that's what I was going for. Yeah, this is the one that I worked on and in the tutorial. So we'll go with American elm too. And so now that one is ready to be placed. And you can see, basically, I'm going to like layer it all in right here. So you could be real meticulous and, you know, place these all in there. Or what I like to do, especially when I'm kind of layering the landscape on, is hold control. And I can dump, you know, 10 of these trees at a time and kind of get the look I'm going for like that. All right. So I'm going to go back to photo mode and check my view. So there we go. So we've got our nice tree line in the back, in the left corner. And now I'm going to go and do the tree line over here. And that's kind of at the end of this sidewalk. And so we'll go back again to place mode, hold control. And I'm kind of making a point to make sure that I'm dumping these on the top of the hill, and some of them are dropping at the back of the hill. That way I'm going to get plenty of these objects to really fill in. And so, you know, I could also kind of come back here and maybe plant a few more like that. All right, so let's go back to photo mode and take a look at my camera view. That looks really good. So you can see in the left side, I've got, you know, I'm seeing some sky. That kills a view for me. But on the right side, it's looking really good. You know, I layered more in the background, so we're in good shape. So I'll do this. I'm going to go back to build mode and then zoom up again, and then we're going to hold control and just add a few more clicks like that. So we're just adding bundles of trees, and then I want to layer in the different effects. So I'm going to type in box. All right, and so this boxwood is just a good kind of ground cover or shrub that I can just kind of put in, and it fills in low. All right, so that way I get plenty of coverage, and then you get some variation in your landscaping. So like that, and we'll go back to our photo mode and then go back and check our camera. So I think we're in pretty good shape. You can see there's one little glimmer of sky over at the left. I'm okay with that. We won't agonize over it. But in the right side is perfect. And I have a feeling that's going to fill in as we add more. All right, so we've got all of our trees. We're in good shape there. And let me hop back into build mode. And let's just go to our select tool. And you can see that we were adding these objects. These trees are going on the layer called summer. All right, so that's where those guys live. Now, the last part of adding some trees in is we really want to add some more ornamental trees. So I'm going to go back over here to our photo, and we're going to check this and go with build with effects. And then I'm going to go to place, and I'm going to type in linden. All right, like that, L-I-N-D. And here's like a small common linden. All right, so you could use that. This one is a little bit bigger. And so I'm just going to kind of place these where I think they'll look pretty cool. Something like that will be nice. And see, this is going to be my view, so I really want that tree to be like kind of right at the side of my view. Maybe I'll go, and I'm just kind of checking over here. Maybe I'll go with like this smaller one and plant the tree lawn. Yeah, maybe something like right here would be good. Like that and like that. Of course, any of this stuff can change, no problem, like that. All right, let's check our view. I'll click return to photo mode, and here we go. So you can see that the one tree on the left-hand side, that one probably needs to move a little bit closer to me. So I'm going to use that move tool and just kind of slide this thing towards the corner there. Looks good. All right, let's check our view again. And of course, I could adjust and move my camera around. But I'm pretty satisfied with that as far as like filling in with the background landscape. So I used the mass placement or the cluster, I used cluster placement by holding control and clicking. And that's how I dropped 10 trees at a time. So I dumped all those trees in the background. And then I used the boxwood to kind of layer in the shorter level and fill in any sky that was peeking through. And then I used picked a kind of an ornamental tree to bring up into the foreground, and that's where we're at now. So I think we're in good shape. We can keep adding some entourage objects. And when I look at this, I can tell, we're going to see some cars parked right here. And maybe I'll throw some cars on the road just to show you exactly how that works. So let's get to it. I'm just going to go for our build mode. And for this, for cars, I always use a mass placement. So I'm going to go to place mode, and then underneath place mode is your mass placement. So, and then I want to mass place cars. All right. So I'll just click, I'm not too concerned that it's a boat. We're going to change that. I'll click once to start here, move my cursor, and click again here. So we've got this guy rowing a boat over here. We need to swap him out with some cars. So I'll go over to my cars collection, and it seems like these, either it was Ever Fine or the skunk looking guys, I can select a car. Evermotion, yeah, those guys are good. I select one in my library, and then I click here to replace it. All right, and then I'm going to change the direction, and you can see that like the direction needs to be like -90. So if I double click on any slider in Lumion, I can type in -90 or any specific input. All right, and then I can bring up the number of items, something like that. I don't like that when people park that close to me. Let's back that off. Perfect. All right, so let's add a few more cars. All right, so like we have the same car, different colors over and over. So I'll just pick a different car and then click the plus sign. And now that's going to add some more variety. So pick a car, add the plus sign. Oh, I don't like that car. So we're going to go with, let's go to page 2. And here's a minivan. And I'll click on that one, swap that guy out. That's better. That was kind of a extended town car or something. And then we can go over to like SUVs, and I find that all of these SUVs work pretty well. I like these a lot. Definitely not going to use the Hummer, and add that. And really when I'm looking for cars, I'm looking for things that are not going to stand out. I don't want a Hummer in there because that's going to be just really obvious and standing out. But if you're rendering an army base, sure, that makes sense, but not for college campus here. All right, so that looks pretty good. You could add as many of these as you want, and then you can say, we'll just check OK. All right, so we're in good shape there. All right, so now while I'm hot on the cars here, I can add some cars on the road. So I can click here, hold Control, and we'll just kind of click down the right lane and keep clicking, and we're going to keep adding cars. All right, and then of course you could turn up the amount of cars, no problem. We're not going to have that many, but then we're going to change our direction so they're all in line, and adjust the number of cars, and then we'll randomize the spacing along this line. And I got to tell you a tip for you when you're adding these cars in. I do kind of tend to add a bunch of cars. I'll add more than I need, and then I'll come back with my delete tool, and I'll just kind of thin them out and make it look the way I want to. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. I'm good with that, and then we'll just click again and hold Control, and we can do the right lane. So it's really fast. Lumion gives you the tools that you need to quickly populate your models. And if I want to add some cars parked over here, no problem at all. We'll just go like that, and then change our direction. If you remember, that was -90. And then we'll adjust the number of items. We'll back those down, take away the spacing, and check OK. Let's go back to photo mode and check our view. So you can see not all of these cars showed up, but we do have some cars right here. You could thin those out, and let's see if we can adjust our view just a little bit so we can catch a little bit more of our context. So that's kind of cool, catching the cars off in the distance. And let me back up just a little bit more, and we're going to delete these cars that are kind of in my way. So I'm going to snapshot my view and go. I'll just build with effects, and that way I get right in here. I need to delete this car, and I need to delete this car. So I'll just kind of back out like that, go to my delete tool, and then get rid of these guys. So we don't need those, and let's see where that gets us. All right, yeah, that's good enough, and maybe I would scoot this one back just a touch, just so that if we want some sort of some sort of suggestion of cars driving, we can have that. So that's pretty cool. Kind of fills in. We've got a lot of different objects at different distances. It's not just a big foreground object. We've got a lot of variety here. But the thing that we're missing now is people. All right, so let's drop some people in here, and we're going to do the same technique. We're going to use the mass placement tool and get a nice variety of summertime people and just do some mass placements real quick. So let's hop back in and do that. I'll just go to build mode, and I'm going to work first on this kind of large sidewalk here. So I'll go to our place mode, make sure that I'm on people and animals, and we're going to do a mass placement, and we'll go from here all the way to the end like that. All right, and then we can turn up the number of items. That's fine, and we can also offset from the line. So you can see that if I slide this out, you can kind of get the coverage to have a random sprinkling of people along that line. And then I'm going to use, whenever I'm creating stills, I use the photorealistic people, and I'm going to need summertime people. All right, so we've got a lot of summertime people. That's pretty easy. So I'll click on the character, and then I can click to replace. All right, so I'm just going to kind of go pretty quickly here and just add a bunch of these people in, and really anyone who looks like they would be in a summer scene looks good to me, and I'm going to pick them. So load this up pretty quick. She's got kind of a hat on. We'll skip her. Of course, our rollerblader here, she's very summery. And we'll add them in, and let's see, go add some more. All right, so really, it's best to have variety because you don't want to have, you don't want to have, or you want to have as few repeating characters as possible. So we'll just add all these guys in, and I think we're in pretty good shape. That's going to be a lot of variety, and we're not actually going to use that many people. So add them in, and we'll go to the third page. Oh yeah, of course, guy walking the dog right there, and this guy in his shorts taking a look at what's going on. Perfect. All right, so now check it out. So here's all my people, and I can either back down the number of people. We can randomize that spacing a bit. You can move these sliders around until you get the look that you want. And like I said before, it's usually easier to add more than you need and then thin the herd selectively. And I can see that I've got like this guy repeating over and over, so I will go in and delete him. Or I might even just like shift the number of items a little bit and see if it gets him out of there, although he's showing up quite a bit. So that's okay though. All right, so that's cool right there. I'll check okay. And then again over here, I'm gonna just zoom out and I'll say from here, and I can hold control and I can just move right down that sidewalk like that. And we can even go to the end, just like that. All right, and then I'll kind of get back over here to my camera view like this, and then you can choose, like how many people do you want? We definitely don't need that many. Man, this guy looking at the sun just shows up constantly. I like that, these two walking across the crosswalk. All right, so I'll click confirm, return to build mode, check my camera view, and see where we are at. All right, so I think that's perfect, looking good, and I'll scoot this group of girls here to the right maybe. And so to do that, I usually go to build with effects, and we'll just scoot them over here like that and check. And that way they're not just right up there in the main portion of the frame, and so that looks cool. I'm okay with that. All right. So we've got our people, we've got our trees, we've got our cars, but really what we need to do now is we need to get these objects onto the right layer. So remember, I was mentioning that Lumion is really good about giving you these smart selections. So you don't have to be hung up on what layer you're on when you're building your scene. So what I'm going to do is use some of those advanced options, like selecting identical objects and selecting all objects in category. And that way we're going to make some quick, smart selections, move things to the right layer, and we'll be on our way to rendering with effects. So let's do that. Let's get this layered up. All right, so I'm on my Objects tab, and I'm on the Select tool. You can see that right now everything has been going to the Summer layer. All right. Now that's correct. I do want everything on the summer layer right now, but the cars I don't. So we're going to go back over to our transportation collection, or if you just want to be able to select anything, you can do select all categories. So now I can click on a car, and then I get these advanced options up here in the top right. And you know, the user interface was redesigned in Lumion 9. And I gotta say, it's just super slick how we can make these selections now. All of these items used to be so far buried in these context menus. And so look at this, select all objects in category. It selects all my cars. Now I can move over here to all seasons and move those cars to the layer all seasons. So I just click that little arrow below, and now all those cars are on the layer called all seasons. I've got my imports, and then I've got my summer. And so all my summer people and my summer trees, and we're good to go. All right, now the last thing I need to do is to create these seasonal renderings. I'm going to use some kind of advanced techniques when it comes to like the autumn colors and messing with the settings in our trees. So I need to make some copies of all these trees. And so to do that, I'm going to put them in a group, and I'm going to copy it up 3 times. So we're going to have 4 whole copies of all of our trees. And then I'm going to put each grouping of trees on a layer of winter, spring, summer, and fall. And that way, in each of my seasonal renders, I'm going to use that layer visibility effect to control which trees are on. And that way I can really saturate the spring trees or desaturate the winter trees and get the look that I'm going for without disrupting all the different views. All right. So once you've got your landscape and entourage in place, then that's when I would do this part. All right. So let's get to that. All right, so to get all of these trees on the proper layer, I'm going to first select a tree with my select tool, and then I can go over here and say, let's see, we'll do select all objects in category. So we can click there and select all of our objects in the category. That way we grabbed all of our trees, and then we can add our current selection to a group like that. All right, and that group, let's see, that went on to the layer all seasons. Okay, so here's my group right there, and this it moved it to the current layer. Okay, so let me see, and then let me just double check something. Our summer layer, yep, we're good there. Okay, so that moved to my current layer of all seasons, and now I'm going to move this group back to my layer called summer. All right, so that group is controlled by the layer summer. All right, now what I'm going to do is make a copy of that group, and I'm going to use the move up tool, but we're going to use like the height tool. All right, and I'm going to hold Alt, and I'm going to make a copy of this group straight up, and then hold Alt, make a copy of it straight up like that, and then hold Alt and make a copy of it straight up. So we're moving these straight up in the sky, and then I'm going to do summer, spring, winter, and fall. All right, so back to my select tool. We've got this group is on our layer summer. I'm sorry, they're all on the layer summer. This group will be on fall, like that. And then this group will move it over here to winter, like that. And then this group will go to spring. All right, and let's just double check our layering. All right, so I'm going to turn, here's winter, and then here's spring, and then here's summer, and then here's fall. Okay, so everything is perfectly layered, so we can turn all of these layers back on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these objects back into place. And if I select this first group that I made, take note that my type in setting, the Y dimension or the Y input is at 0. So all I need to do to drop each one of these groups back in place is just put them back to 0. All right, and now they're all sitting right back where they're supposed to be, like that. All right, now let's just go through our layering one more time. We'll turn everything off and take a look, because now we have all these duplicates. So you've got winter, and then you've got spring, and summer, and fall, just like that. All right, but I'm going to leave on summer. Okay, so the summer layer is turned on, and our all seasons layer is turned on. And so that's going to lead us into creating our first seasonal render, which is going to be the hazy summer. All right. So in this next portion of the webinar, we're going to build some with effects. We're going to create a base effect stack. Now, this is a little bit different than what I've done in the past. Is I'm going to just take all the effects that I use every time and create like a base effect stack, and then I'm going to tweak it for each winter, spring, summer, and fall. So the first thing I'm going to do is load up all the effects that I know I'm going to use on each one, and I might tweak the ones that I know that I need to tweak for all of them, but I'm not going to make it into a seasonal render yet because I want to have this like fresh start, this base effect stack that I can just load up without having to add all those effects every time. All right, so let's do that. Okay, so now in photo mode, I'll go over here to photo mode and click on my camera view again, and let's see, sorry, let me go to build, and I'll just turn on my imports. That way we're in good shape. All right, and we are going to mess with our layering too. Okay, so we're going to add all the effects. I'm going to move kind of quick through this one. So we'll just add an effect. I can tell you that the first effect that we always add is a real sky. That is what sets the mood. And then I would probably adjust my heading just to get it to look, kind of where I want it to be there. All right, so that's cool. We won't go too far into any of these. So if I add a real sky, then I know that I need to have Skylight. We want that one turned on. Let's add another one. We're going to go with shadow. These are going to be exterior shadows. I always dial Omni Shadow all the way up, no matter what. And I always turn on my soft shadows because look at this. I mean, here's like the hard shadows. Here's the soft shadows. I mean, that is outstanding how much better that looks. And then fine detail shadows, I always want those turned on in all of my renderings too. I might tweak the brightness. Sometimes the shadows get a little bit dark, but that's pretty much what I do for every single render, whether it's regardless of the season. All right, we definitely need reflections. The preview quality, I would usually set that to low. All right, but let's just take a look at reflections real quick. Again, these are all the effects that I know I'm going to need in every single image that I render. All right, so check this out. Here's the need for reflections. When I go by here, you can see that the sun and the reflections are just not exactly perfect, right? So as I go through here, I'm not seeing everything reflecting the way it should be. But if I hit edit and then add a reflection plane, I can specify that on this glass surface, anything that's in line or coplanar with that glass surface is going to get a perfect reflection. So we'll do one there, and then we'll do one, let's go over here and we'll add a reflection to our ground here and add one there because I know we're going to need some reflectivity there. All right, so now check this out. When I go through here, you can see I'm getting those nice clean reflections. So let me do high quality just for the preview. All right, but we'll go speed ray on always, and I always keep my preview quality low. All right, so you'll really start to bog down when you're working fast and you know that a setting is supposed to be a certain way. You don't need to always preview it. So global illumination is a tricky one. You got to turn the preview quality way down there, and then also your reflections, that will bog you down severely. So make sure your preview quality is low there too. All right, so we'll go back to our view here. While I'm at it, I'm just going to name this one. I'll call this one summer, like that, and we'll go back to our effect stack. So we got our reflections in there. Skylight, hyperlight, we're all good there. On camera, I'm gonna go, I always do 2-point perspective. That's gonna give it, kind of adjust that distortion. I'll add another effect. I go with handheld camera, and I tend to just dial up the film age. So see how it gives that vignette around the corners? I don't want that much, but just enough to see it. So again, on all these sliders, a little bit goes a long way. And along with that handheld camera, I get my focal length. I'm going to change that to be 35. And now we're right back where we were. All right. Let's keep adding effects to our base effects stack. We need lens flare. That one always happens, but we're going to have different settings on each of our seasonal renders, so I'm not going to mess with those. And scene and animation. This one is real important. We need layer visibility. All right. So like here you can see that the layer visibility came in with the defaults that are showing in build mode. So you can turn off summer, you can turn off summer, turn on fall, and maybe I'll just kind of load it up like this so that we know to adjust it every single time. All right. So what we're going to want on in every single seasonal render that we do is going to be imports and all seasons. So I think we're good there. Let's keep rolling through and build that base effect stack. We've got our layer visibility. You can see that it tells you when it's already in use. Weather and climate, we did our real skies. We will be using some precipitation and autumn colors, but these are not effects that we use every time. Outlines, I think these are really cool. We've really picked up on outlines lately. And so what I do with that is I turn the transparency all the way up and then knock the outline density pretty far down, maybe 0.4. And you can see there, you just get these nice kind of artistic effect. I like them. I think it just takes the edge off. It's not quite as photoreal, but it's somewhere in between. And then we'll go to our effects, and then I do like to add noise. The intensity, you definitely don't want it max power. You really just want it enough to kind of see that it's happening, and in my opinion, it looks cool. We'll do that. And the last one would be color correction, and we're good to go. And so each one of these effects that I've added, they're gonna be tweaked, but we want this base effect stack. So you can see here on my screen, we've got at the left-hand side, from bottom up, that's how they stack in order. And we also have a second page here of real skies. All right. So I'm going to save this. I'll click on this menu and go to File and choose Save Effects. And I'm going to call this one, you can see that I've been working in here already and kind of goofing around. I'll just get rid of some of these. I'm going to call this one BD_base effects. Like that. So this way, it's kind of a default setting so that every time that I start a new seasonal rendering, I have things all set up the way I want it. And then I can just start moving the sliders and pulling the levers to make it look like that seasonal render, whether it's the hazy, warm summer day or that cool, crisp fall day. Or that dreary winter evening. So that's the idea here. So we've got the base effect stack in place. We've saved it, and so now let's start tweaking this and making that hazy summer effect. All right, so I'll go over here. Here's my camera. I need to first go to my layer visibility and make sure that summer is turned on. So there's all my summer entourage. Next, let's go back to our effect stack, and let's just start at the bottom. All right, so real skies. I didn't spend much time on here, but you can select a real sky. And I'm pretty satisfied with the one that we're on when it comes to a summer day. You could also make the argument that like a clear day would be good for that hazy summer feeling. I like that too, and the clouds kind of landed in a nice way. And of course, you can adjust the heading any way you like. But the truth is that the way it's landing right now, I'm getting I'm just looking for those shadows to kind of hit that curve, and I think that looks pretty cool with those soft shadows. All right, so we've got our summer sky. Let's just keep building. We've taken care of page 2. Back to page 1. I don't mess with Skylight. Shadows are taken care of. Reflections are taken care of. Let's see. Everything is really taken care of. What's going to really get us that effect is going to be lens flare. Is going to help a lot. So if you go with like that master brightness, you can really get that that feeling when the sun is just pounding down and like just really bright out. Maybe you just walked outside and it's just like just that super hazy summer day. So turn that up and kind of get that kind of really bright glow going. And for this, I really only mess with the bloom amount and the master brightness. So we're good there. Layer visibility we took care of. Outlines, noise, and then the last piece of this is going to be color correction. And I would lean towards a warmer feel on this image. So to get that really warm, hazy summer day, we're going to just warm that image up. Again, just use these things sparingly. I think that looks pretty good. All right, so we're in good shape. That is our hazy summer effect. I'm going to go to my menu and click File and choose Save Effects, and I'm going to call this one BD_, and we'll call this Hazy Summer, and hit Enter. Save that one for later. When we save our effect stacks, that way we can just load them in whenever we want, either on this project or another project. Easy to tweak them. You don't have to reinvent that wheel every single time you make a new rendering. So we are good to go with our hazy summer. Up next, we're going to set up a crisp fall day. All right, so let me check my notes here. Let's do that. So to set up a crisp fall day, we're going to want to we're going to need to move over into build mode, and we are going to flip our summer layer off, and we're going to turn on our fall layer, and we're going to add some seasonal objects to the fall layer, and then we're going to start a new camera, load up the base effect stack, and then start going from there. So first things first, let's paint the picture using that Lumion object library to tell the story of a crisp fall day. All right, so let's hop into build mode, and we'll go in here and let's see, we've got our summer layer is turned on. And so now I'm going to go to fall and turn that one on. All right, so that's like a different set of trees there. And so for fall, I'm going to, and I also want to make sure that my fall layer is the active layer because that's where I'm adding these objects. All right, so I clicked on that layer number 6, which is fall. It lingers behind, it stays black, and that lets me know that that is the current layer that we are adding objects to. So I'll go back to place mode, and let's just add some fall people. All right, so I'll go to our people here, and I'm not going to add a ton of people in here. We'll just go to the first page, and somebody that would look like they're in fall attire. I mean, this couple here, they've got like some longer coats on, and let's see, someone who's obviously kind of fallish. She has a scarf going on, and let's just go to page 2 and see if we can find one more. This is going to be our winter character. I can tell that right now. Yeah, she might be okay for fall. Okay. So we've got some fall objects in there, and you can see now that those are controlled by the layer number 6, fall. And we want some more fall objects, all right? So I'm going to go over here, and let's go to place mode again. And this time I'm going to go over to effects, all right? And then here we have leaves, and you've got like all these different falling leaves. These are super cool, all right? You can hold H, and you can like move those leaves up and down, wherever you want them to be falling. That looks pretty good right there. And so I'm just going to add some leaves to each one of these. And I know it's a little overkill, but that's looks cool to me. So we'll shrink those down like that and click. And then I'll put my cursor under this tree, hold L, and shrink those down as well like that and click. And let's just add all these leaves in. Why not? We'll just go nuts with it. All right, like that, and we'll add one more right here, hold L, shrink this thing down, and click. All right, let's check our view. I do this often. I just click on photo mode, I go back, here's my summer view, and then here's my, my fall view, so I'll store that camera, and you can see that we do have our leaves falling, and we've got our fall people, so we're in good shape. And I'm gonna go back to build mode. We wanna add some leaves in the gutter, and maybe some leaves under the trees. So let's do that. Again, back to build mode. We are on the place object tab, and I'm going to go to our nature library. And on the nature library, we have a leaf collection. And here you can see we've got like birch. Those are kind of cool. Maybe I'll go with the big one. Again, I'm just kind of exaggerating. And I did find that like when you're adding these leaves in here, you need to like lift them just a little bit up. They kind of fall below the grass. So, it's not too far. Something like that seems to be better. All right, like that. And we'll just add these in. Yeah, it's fine. I'll click there and just kind of scoot around and click here and here and here. Okay, so there's all of our leaves, and then again, if you just search around in here, we've got like elm leaves lining the gutter. I know that like right here we're gonna have a good look, and if I hold R, go back to our place mode and hold R, it kind of snaps to the model a little better. So we'll go like that, hold M, place this in the gutter or something like that, I think. If I hold Alt, I can make a copy of this, and then if I hold R, I can kind of spin it around like that, and then hold M, And if you hold shift, it'll lock it like on the y-axis like that. All right, so that looks pretty good. And then I think the last thing I would do here is go to our leaves, and maybe I'd try and throw some leaves in the street like this, place those, and hold R. And again, like that helps me kind of align with the model. And then I can move it using that move tool and hold Alt to make copies and just get those leaves kind of scattered all over the place here. That'll look pretty cool. And I think that these are going to show up too. So again, I want to make sure that I'm only really working where I know it's going to matter. So that's why I always go back and kind of check my camera views, because it's easy to get carried away and start modeling everything. All right. So we've got our leaves in the gutter. We've got a ton of leaves falling out of these trees. It is a windy day here, and so I think that we're pretty close. We're good to go on our actual Entourage objects, but that's one part of this. So now we need to load our base effect stack and then work in the right blend of effects to tell that story of that crisp fall day. All right. So I'm going to go to Menu, File, Load Effects, and we're going to load up our base effects. And I'm going to go to my layer visibility and make sure that my fall layer is turned on. And then we can go back here, and really real sky is what always sets the tone. So I'll go to my real skies and choose a different real sky. For this one, I'm going to go, I think cloudy is the right choice. So we used like a clear day for summer. We'll use a cloudy day for fall. I'm pretty satisfied with where that landed. Again, you could always tweak the heading. And let's just keep rocking here. We can go to page 1. Don't need to mess with Skylight. Don't need to mess with shadow, reflection, perspective, handheld camera. We're good on all of these. Our layer visibility is set up. And then we're going to go with, basically we're going to do color correction. And for this one, maybe I'll make it a little bit cooler. I don't know. You don't want to go too far. And it's definitely not a warm feeling on that day. We want it to be a little bit cooler in color. And, the saturation, maybe you want to mess with that, if you want it to be more or less saturated. For this particular one, maybe just a touch of saturation that we'll get in our colors. And what's going to be really important to tell the story of a fall day is going to be our autumn colors. And let me just verify. Layer visibility is set to layer number 6, fall. Okay. So I'm going to add a new effect, and that's going to be under weather and climate of autumn colors. And we're going to only affect layer number 6. All right. And so now what I can do is change the hue of these trees. All right. So you can see how it's kind of changing. And it took me a while to really get the hang of this. And so what I found is that like if I set the hue first and then change the variation, I think it was, I don't want a lot of variation. I want a little bit more range, maybe just a little bit of variation. But if you go too nuts on these sliders, they tend to go like to these weird colors that are super red. And so I'm going to back off that range. And then you can mess with your saturation, of course, and make it like, real saturated, orange and yellow. But I think I've achieved a pretty good effect there. But, if you ever find that like you're kind of getting out of whack, just delete the effect and add it back on and start from scratch. So that looks good. We've got our fall colors, we got our fall people. And then the last part of this is what I was talking about with that wet asphalt material. I can go to my effects and I can add a precipitation effect. Now, I don't want it to be raining. I want it to have just rained. So I'm going to turn the particle quantity all the way down, and I'm going to turn the extra fog addition all the way down. And look at that. We no longer have wet asphalt. We have wet everything. So it's like it just rained on the concrete, on the curbs. Everything got wet. And then you can choose, what phase is this in? Was it like either, just a little bit, or is it that it's, really soaking wet out there? I think that's super cool. So really psyched about the new precipitation effect and the control it gives you to really tell the story much better. I mean, wet asphalt was really cool, but now it's just everything's wet. So perfect. So I think we're in good shape there. we're going to keep on rocking. I'm going to make it through this thing. We're going to run a little bit over time. That's okay. So hopefully you're sticking with me, and we'll chop all this up and get it into much more manageable pieces too. But let's keep going and build a winter scene. All right, so we're going to go for dreary winter. So I'm going to pick my next camera, and we'll just start there, and let me just kind of do an intro on that. The dreary winter scene, we're going to run it through the same process. All right, we're going to go into build mode. We're going to adjust our layers. We're going to add some seasonal objects to the winter layer, and then we're going to load up our base effect stack, and then we're going to tweak it to really sell the idea of a winter evening. All right, so let's get to it. All right, first things first, we'll go to build mode, and I'm going to adjust my layers. We don't want to see fall anymore, but we do want to see winter. So winter is turned on, and I'm going to make sure that winter is my active current layer. That way, any object that I add right now is going to be controlled. The visibility is going to be controlled by that winter layer. And really, the only thing I need to add right now is going to be a person. I'm just going to go to my people and animals collection, and I think I called her out earlier. There's this one character who does look like she's ready for a storm. Where did she go? There she is. So we'll go here and place our winter character there. And I don't think there's two. I know there was like one or two others that were pretty decent when it comes to like really bundled up. Let's see if I can find that. Anyone else real quick. She's got a hat on. That's cool. We'll put her right there. And yeah, it looks good. All right, so again, you can always go and check your views. You know, make sure that you got your people in the right place. And again, I'm going to duplicate this camera. So here's our fall camera. Snapshot here. Head over, and there's my winter scene. Okay, so we're in good shape. Let's get this winter scene built, and then we're going to drop some lights and really make this thing like warm up and glow. All right, so first things first, I'm going to build, go to File and choose Load Effects, load my base effects up like that, and then we need to go to our layer visibility, and we need to turn on our winter layer. All right, so there's winter. All right, we'll go back out here, and always the real sky is going to be what sets the mood. So choosing a real sky from our overcast collection, this overcast 2 seems to be a pretty nice effect. All right, so there's the storm clouds looming in. You know, we've got a nice snowstorm that's going to happen. So let's go to our precipitation effect. We'll go over here to precipitation, and we don't want rain, we want snow. So look at that. How easy is it just to scoot thing, just move that slider over, and now the whole ground is covered with snow. My rain turns to snow. Really slick. All right, so we are definitely going to be on a snow scenario. And then the precipitation phase, that's where, you know, you might want to play with this a little bit. And if I hold shift, I can move slow down the movements of that slider and really dial in what I want. And I found that, like, you know, you don't want it to always max, like, you know, everything's white covered with snow. Maybe you just want it to, like, you know, show through a little bit more like that. That could be kind of cool. And you can see that, like, the plants now block, which is super cool as well. So whether it's blocked by plants a lot or a little, and I find that just a little bit, just enough that, like, some variation happens under the trees is perfect for me. Now, part of that precipitation effect is this extra fog addition. That really starts to, like, block out our real sky. So I would bring that back just a bit, you know, and I want to be able to see that the real sky is happening there. And I think that's looking pretty cool. All right. Now, let's go back to our effects stack. We've got our shadows, reflections, really all that stuff is good. This next part, we're going to use autumn colors to desaturate our trees, because right now they're looking green. All right, so we're going to use the autumn colors effect to pull the color completely out of the tree. I've heard this question a lot, you know, can you get the trees to lose their leaves? That doesn't work. We need to just desaturate them, and then they'll have snow on them. It'll look right. All right, so let's do that. I'll go to, first off, double check my layer visibility. Winter is layer number 3. All right, so I'm going to add my autumn colors. autumn colors, I only want it to affect layer number 3, and I'm just going to desaturate those trees. So see how it goes from like super green to super gray. And so now it just, fits better in this scene, okay? All right, so now I think we're in good shape there. I'm gonna add another effect at the top of my stack. Right now, all of the lighting is being controlled by my real sky. So I'm gonna go in here and add the sun effect. And what that does is I can override my real sky like this. I can bring the sun down, and I don't want it to be too dark, but I do want it to be in a more of like that kind of twilight feel where it's the sky's dark, the building is dark, it's pretty dreary, it doesn't really look all that great, right? So we need to make this thing glow. And to do that, I'm gonna drop some lights. All right, so let's do that. Let's go to build mode. Again, we are on our winter layer, and I'm gonna set our sun down just so I can really see what's happening with my lighting. And we'll go over here and we're gonna add some lights here. So I'll go to my objects, place mode, and we're gonna go with lights and utilities. And it really, I find it doesn't totally matter. I pick an interesting shape to or spread to my lights. We'll just do that and just start clicking. And so I'll just kind of zoom over here, and I'm really not being careful because these are just street lights. It doesn't matter. They're just gonna shine down. And what I noticed, I was looking out my front window of my house when I was working late one night. It was snowing, and I just noticed how like orange those street lights really are. And I think that'll be a cool look if we just set these up to have that kind of orange glow. And we'll use the interior lights to be more of a white glow. All right, so now I'm gonna back up again like this, and you can see we've got all of our lights in place, or all the ones that we need really. And then I can go to my select tool, I can select a light, and then I can go to my advanced options, and we can go to select all identical. Now for this one, I am gonna dial up the intensity to like 1,000, and let's do 750. Let me see, 750. And then we're going to change the cone angle. Let's see if that's going to make a good effect for us. Yeah, I'm good with a super wide cone angle. And then the color of these lights, I want them to be more of like that yellowish, orangish look. All right. And so let's see what that's doing for us. If I go to photo mode and take a look at my camera, there we go. So now, we've got like those lights kind of painting some color on the side of the building, and they're secondary. And the primary lighting that I need is I want this part of the building to really glow. All right, so I'm going to go back to build mode, and we're again going to place some lights here. So I'll go in here and go to my place mode and choose a different light, hold H like that, and then I'm going to click, click, and click. Then scoot up above and use my select tool, and I can hold control with that, and then hold shift and alt, and I can make a copy of these lights up to the front, and then I can like hit my advanced options and hit select all identical objects, and then we'll go in and make a copy of these straight down. All right, so watch this little trick. We're gonna use our move up, hold alt, and make a copy of these straight down to the floor. And then we're going to rotate these, and we're going to set this at like -90. Again, I can always double click on any slider, hit backspace a few times, and then type in a custom input. So deselect all. That way that whole room is really lit up. And let me see where we're at on our select all identical objects. We're going to set these at like, let's try 1,000. I just want like a lot of light coming out of here, really nice and bright and white. So we'll go back to our photo mode and take a look. So now this is starting to shape up. It's a pretty dreary evening, but our building is glowing and inviting us in, right? So let's really let's go further with that. And I think to do so, we're going to use our lens flare. And so we'll dial up our master brightness, and I think that is a super cool look. Getting more bloom, more master brightness, that looks pretty cool to me. And color correction, Let's see, we'll go there for color correction, and maybe the whole thing should just be a little bit desaturated. You know, that's a lot. Here's a little bit. And maybe, you know, on an image like this, I would go in and add the exposure effect. And I can tell you that the exposure effect, I usually add that in at the very end. And that's where I say, you know what, I just need it to be brighter. Like everything I'm doing, it's just a little too dingy. And so something like that, I think will probably print well. And then I would go back, let's see, that's good. And exposure, yeah, I think that we're in pretty good shape. The last thing on precipitation is like the particle size, you know, like let's really make it wintry, you know, get all those snowflakes dumping, and we're in good shape. So that's pretty cool. Right on. So that's kind of everything for a winter scene. Now, all right, trying to move fast here. We've got one more to do, then we're going to wrap it up, and I am going to take some questions. We went through a dreary winter scene, and next and final is going to be a wet spring morning. So I was out there yesterday morning, and it like hailed and dumped rain overnight. And it was truly that wet spring morning, and took a photo and just kind of like looking around, seeing what that's all about. And so we're going to really recreate that look now. And it's going to be largely based, you know, again, it's close to summer, but we're going to like oversaturate our trees. We're going to we will use rain. And then I think we do have a character that has an umbrella. So that's going to tell that story of that kind of like cold, rainy, cooler, rainier morning. So let's get to it. Same process. I'm going to hop back into build mode. I'm going to bring our sun up like this, and we're going to go to our objects again and take a look at our layers, and we're going to turn off winter and turn on spring. All right, and then make sure that spring, let's see, spring is our active layer. So you see I just clicked on the number 4 and made spring our active layer. Let's deselect everything. All right, so any of the objects that I add into this model now are going onto that spring layer. And to really tell the story of spring, I think the only thing that I'm really concerned about is getting somebody in there with an umbrella. And that way it looks like, you know, when it's raining, we've got the right look. So even though I think she's using the umbrella for sunshade, we're going to go with rain. And let's see, we'll just put this gentleman over here walking his bike. I think that might be okay. And then I don't think there's anyone else with an umbrella. So I think we're good. Sometimes, you know, you only need one character. That's really okay. So we've got our umbrella people in there, and let's see. Let's check this out. So I'll go to my camera. I'm going to snapshot my view, and then take a look. And so you can see that, you know, that's pretty good. We've got her in the foreground. But, you know, if I click Build with Effects, it's going to put me like right in that view. And if I just kind of stay still here and don't move my camera. I can move her. I want to kind of do a free move and maybe just move her off to the side just a touch like that. And let's see how that looks. All right. Cool. Okay, so same deal. I'm going to go to my menu, File, Load Effects, and we're going to load our base effect stack. All right, so there's our base effects. And now we're going to go to Layer Visibility, and we're going to turn on our spring. So that way we're only messing with the spring scenario. And let's kind of move through this one pretty quick. Again, we'll go to our real skies, and that's what truly sets the mood. We'll go to morning. And let's go with like a cloudy morning. Now I'm going to slide the heading around like this and see if we can get, you know, I've done a few of these because I made the tutorials already, but you know, getting like the sun kind of in the frame was really a cool look. Let's see if I can do that on the fly again. So something like that was, we'll try it. Of course, any of this stuff is super easy to adjust, so we'll just go with it. That looks pretty cool. We'll start with our real sky there and then move over. And I really don't need to mess with anything here, but I will add in, let's add the precipitation effect because I want it to be like raining out. So yeah, that's perfect. See how we're getting like the sun in there? It looks like the storm is passing. You could adjust the quantity of particles. Something that's super cool too about the rain is that it doesn't look great in this preview. Like you can see this one right here, it looks like this kind of odd shape, but it like motion blurs when you render it. So we'll look at the final effect there. All right, so then the extra fog addition, if you back that off, you can get more of the real sky like that, and we'll go with the particle size. I think is fine, but maybe less on the quantity. Okay, and we're good there, and then we'll go to our color correction. I'm just going to bounce around a little bit, dial up the saturation. I'll go to my effects. I'm going to add a camera effect of exposure. Just kind of bring this thing back into, brightened up a bit. I don't want my building too dark, but we've got those really green trees, green grass. It's raining out, looking good. What else do we need to mess with? Lens flare. Again, if you dial up your master brightness, you can really get that sun to do some cool stuff. And the bloom amount. So we're not totally going with too much of that, but I think that'll be a neat look. Maybe our color correction could be a little bit cooler. Yeah, maybe not too much though. And then our saturation for the whole image could come up. I think that would be a good way to kind of show the spring morning there. And what other effects? So let's see, and we'll go with weather and climate, autumn colors. So again, I already dialed up the saturation of the whole image, but you can go back to your let me go back to color correction and bring that saturation down. All right, and then we're going to check which layer do we need to mess with. All right, so layer visibility, it's going to be number 4. All right, so we're going to go back to our stack. We're going to mess with layer number 4. So on autumn colors, I need to set this to be layer number 4, and then I can just dial up that saturation. You make it really green. And, we're kind of exaggerating today, so why not? We'll make it pretty green. And then let's go back and double check our color correction and see, maybe you want to bring up your saturation a little bit on that. That looks pretty cool there. So let me double check my effect stacks. We've got exposure is turned up, precipitation and all that, color correction, noise, all these are really in good shape. So let me do this. I'm going to go through and make sure that we've saved each one, and let me double check here. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do here is we are going to go through and make sure that we've saved all of our effect stacks out, because we can use these effects in other projects, or we can use them in other cameras. So we're going to save all of our effect stacks out, double check all of our cameras, set up another view real quick, and then we're going to render these out and see what we get. All right, so let's get to it. Last part of this is going to each one of these. We've got summer, and then we've got our fall. And let me see, I'm going to do file and choose save effects, and we did not save our fall, so I'm going to call this one Brightman Designs _ crisp fall. And then we'll go to this one, and I'll go to file and choose save effects, and I'm going to call this one let's see, file, save effects, and we're going to call this one BD _ dreary winter. And then we're going to call this one a wet spring. So file and save effects and call this one BD _ wet spring. Like that. Okay, so we've got all of our effects out. I think these images are looking really cool. I mean, what a variety that you can achieve here. I mean, Lumion is super flexible for creating any mood, any vision, whatever it is you're going for. It's so quick and so easy to create and paint that picture. So if I wanted to make another view, I could just hop over here to a new camera, and maybe I'll take a quick snapshot of, I'm just going to zoom closer. This is going to be a little bit tricky, but if I get a close up like this and set our eye height like that, so that could be kind of cool, something like there. All right, so I'll take a snapshot, and then all I need to do is go to File and choose Load Effects. And I'm going to load up our hazy summer. like that. I'll go here, snapshot my view, file, load effects, and we're going to go with crisp fall. And then I'll go here and snapshot my view, and then file, load effects, and we're going to go with our dreary winter. And last is going to be snapshot our view and file, load effects, and that'll be our wet spring, like that. So you can see how quick and easy it is to just use these effect stacks over and over and get all these different looks going. Once you set it up, it's yours. And of course, we are sharing all of these effects. I've shared all the secrets. I'm moving fast today, but everything is perfectly clearly laid out in our tutorial. So let's do this. Let's go over here to our render photos page. And you can either render the current shot or you can render the entire set. I'm just going to do 1920 by 1080. That's usually how I do my test renders. And then I would do a 3840 or 4K for print. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to send these to my webinar and say 190529 underscore enter. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to move through this entire, every single scene that I've set up. It's going to render this out and just move through it. So let's just do that, and I think I'm going to say some closing words while we render out, and maybe if I can fill the fill the time, we'll just take a lap through all of these renders and see what we got. So, all right, So again, I'm Mike Brightman with Brightman Designs. We offer design, drafting, visualization, and workflow training services. Definitely do appreciate you guys coming in today. This is our Lumion Workflow webinar. And so the point of these is to really show you all of our secrets, how to move through in a clear process, a clear path to success with Lumion. Instead of just approaching it from from a different angle every time, if you run it through this process, you will have success. So be sure to check us out at brightmandesigns.com. If you haven't RSVP'd for the webinar, make sure you sign up there because we will remind you of upcoming Lumion webinars and some other cool stuff that we've got going on with Brightman Designs. So these guys are still rendering out. I'll just kind of let them cook for the time being and just say thank you so much for being here today. And let's hop over to the chat panel and see what we got. All right, let me scroll to the top here, and who we got in here? Brienne, this is a common question. I was just talking to, I see Patrick Duchesne up there. I was talking to him about this. Is there a way to prevent the grass from growing through the curb or other materials? Seems to be an issue I come across a lot. Well, I can tell you that there's a few different settings that you can mess with on that. And in general, like the grass does have just a little bit of an offset, enough to like get over into your other materials. But I mean, when I look at this rendering, I mean, that's going on in the background here, and it doesn't bother me. I mean, I guess I never like get so close to a curb that I'm hung up on, the grass actually showing up. So I think that like pushing the grass down by 2 inches, that definitely helps. Let me just hop over into SketchUp, see if I can show you some stuff while that renders, which is probably not a good idea. But I'll just zoom in on our curb here, and you can see that like I've pushed the grass down. So that's how I always do this. And maybe you even want to exaggerate more than this. If you go like 2-3 inches down, then you can make the grass length taller, and maybe you can turn off the bending force and the gravity and get it to grow straight up. And that way, it won't be like curving out. So that would be one suggestion for how you could possibly make that happen. All right, we're almost done rendering. So let's see what we got here. This is, I'm working with Lumion 9.3.1. And Tim asking about a copy of this YouTube event. So I can tell you that like this live broadcast, this gets recorded, and if you just go back to this page, you'll be able to watch the whole thing. But I can tell you that we are going to take this live broadcast, we're going to re-chop it up into smaller bite-sized pieces. Those pieces are going to perfectly match the tutorials that we are going to release. So when all is said and done, you're going to have you're going to have the webinar, which was pretty fast. It was like the entire process in about an hour and 20 minutes or so. And we're going to chop those up, so you'll have like the quick condensed version, the Cliff Notes. And then I've already recorded all of these tutorials. And I was in the studio, I was sitting there explaining it at a very instructional, step-by-step pace. So we have 2 versions of the same tutorials, quick or step-by-step follow along. So if you have RSVP'd, we will send you an email, and also those are going to be live on our brightmandesigns.com blog, and that's the RSVP page that you've been seeing over and over. So that page is going to turn into the final home of all these tutorials. So, all right, and Alex asking about an RTX. Yeah, definitely, you can render with an RTX. That's a good card to get. Let's see. It needs more fog. Yeah, you just slide things around. Whatever you want is all good. Let me see. Let me see if I can just pull up my computer specs. How do I do that? Let's go to this PC, right click, properties. So these are my specs for this current machine, and I got to tell you, I just bought a new computer. It's going to be done at the end of this week, and we've got a 20 RTX 2080 Ti. So I just went for it. Got the best of the best. But these are the specs I'm on right now. I do have a 64 gigs of RAM in the new machine. And check out this page. This is pretty cool. If you go to your web browser and type in, let me see if I can just do Brightman, my rig. We made a page specifically for this. So whenever you're curious what machine I'm running, this is my desktop computer. These are all of the specs. And then this is the laptop. This one might be just a little bit out of date. But we'll get all these updated because I am getting a new machine, and just kind of keep you informed on what I'm running. So if you just do a Google search for Brightman, my rig, you can see what I've got going on. So yeah, this machine has a 1080 Ti and 32 gigs of RAM. When you're selecting a new machine, the processor is always good. Spend money there, but don't go nuts. It's all about the graphics card. And to pick a graphics card, you got to go to videocardbenchmark.net and take a look at the high-end cards. And then you can see that like the 2080 Ti, that's way up there, and it's at a reasonable price. All right. So like the Titan RTX 2500, like I'll take the 1100, get a little more performance. Or you might say, look at the bargain, 2080 is only 680. So that's pretty cool. And I can tell you that I did also buy a 2070 to upgrade another one of our machines. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I could have gone for the 2080, but it was getting a little bit spendy on everything. So anyway, those are my specs. That's how you find what we're running at any given time. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Stella, thanks for that. Definitely in my book, Sketchup Workflow for Architecture, I do cover a lot of this on what is, how to pick a computer, and like what to look for, how to make it ripping fast, and we do have some other tutorials on that too. So nice, Stella. I'm glad to hear that you got it. Love the PC. Software's worth it. I got to tell you. I don't want to say it sounds expensive, because I know what you can do with this software, and the truth is it's not expensive. What's expensive is sitting there and waiting and waiting and waiting for renders, and just like waiting on a computer that's too slow. The way that you make money is you have the right hardware and the right software. And if you buy the right machine, like the one I just bought is like $3,300, it means nothing. I mean, it's like we plow through jobs, and yeah, it doesn't mean nothing. It's you'll never find yourself saying while you're waiting for your computer to render, like, I'm so glad I saved $800 on this machine that I'm going to use for several years. I mean, it's always worth buying the best of the best and just keep it upgraded. Absolutely have to have a PC. Lumion only runs on PC, and furthermore, Macs are just they're overpriced and they don't perform. So get a PC that's you can change out the graphics card. So like what I'm doing right now is I bought myself a new computer. We kind of re-upgrade everyone, and we're going to take the 980 Ti out of the oldest machine, and we're going to put the 2070 in. And you cannot do that with a Mac. That upgrade that's going to breathe life back into this old machine that's literally 3 years old, we're going to put a new graphics card in it, and it's right back to where it needs to be. Like, it's just, I can't even imagine how you buy a Mac where you cannot operate on those machines. You cannot swap parts out. It's just insane to me. So anyways, spend the money, get the software, get Lumion, get the right hardware, and you will never regret it. You will just blow through projects, and it will be wonderful. So, all right. Twin Motion, yeah, that's I don't know what they got going on there. Lumion should update their texture map. Slots, gloss bump height, more slots to get you more realistic. Brad, you got to check out Chris Welton's videos. And maybe you already have, but like if you're looking to really dig in on all the texture maps and all these different, gloss bump and height, Chris Welton is the man for that. He's got some really, really cool tutorials, and he digs in deep. I tend to move fast, and I get things out the door and they look great. And I also appreciate, though, and there's a lot to learn from Chris, because he digs in and he agonizes over those little details. And I think we can all learn something from that. And certainly his videos are well worth watching. So check that out if you want to see more on that stuff. Let's see. And June, yeah, give me a shout, brightmandesigns.com, and then hit contact and just give us a call. We would love to collaborate, or if you need help with anything, that's all good. Another question about Twin Motion and Unreal, and there's all kinds of programs that are in fact in a similar arena as Lumion. But in my opinion, of course, Lumion is absolutely hands down the fastest, the easiest, and it creates the most beautiful images. Just look for yourself, give their trials a go and see what they're all about. Take a look, see what the object library is all about. Some of these guys are really pushing on virtual reality. Give that a shot. See if that's something that you actually use. That's what I'm curious about. Lumion's virtual reality is a really beautiful rendered 360 pano. They look really good, and they're super lightweight. You don't need the headsets that have all the wires. There's just a lot of benefits, a lot of the way that Lumion has approached this problem is really exactly what you need, and for a lot of different reasons. So just take a look around, see what you're actually going to use, and then look at the quality of the images, see what's coming out of them. And in my opinion, Lumion is by far the best. They're obviously leading the pack, and it's not going to be too long, I'm sure, until we're going to be blown away again with another version. Yes, Tim asking about upgrading from Lumion 8 to 9.3. Gosh, the biggest changes, I do have a bunch of videos that I made for Lumion 9 that highlight those, so check that out on our YouTube channel. But the precipitation effect was huge. There was a redesign of the user interface, which I definitely appreciate. There's a lot of advantages to that. Gosh, it's been a while since I made those videos. What else was new in Lumion 9? What other effects? Let's see. We'll say okay. I just can't remember all. What you should do is go to check out our YouTube channel, and let me look at this. I'm going to go to my blog here. And let me see if I have like a Lumion 9. I think we probably commented on that. Oh, Lumion 8. So we don't have a blog on it, but it's on our YouTube channel. So that's what I'd say is just take a look at there. And I know I made some really clean. Oh, I'm sorry. 3D grass was huge. 3D grass and precipitation. Those were like the biggest advancements. And then a lot of the other stuff was really cool. It just keeps things clean, you know, keeps things going, the workflow and the user interface and all that. So what else we got? And Tim, yes, a lot more plants and people. You know, I mentioned earlier too, yeah, and maybe you're just saying like in general, yeah, we add plants and people every time. But, you know, that's really something to keep in mind when you're shopping around and looking at these different products, is that Lumion has everything that you need to render right now with one price tag. If you get into some of these other rendering programs, you'll find that you're like, oh, I need to go buy this other pack of materials, or I need to go buy these different objects, or you're going to be spending a lot of time in Photoshop. You're not going to have the same flexibility of being able to design right up to the last minute. So keep all that in mind. Lumion is really, it's the only thing that we use. We do not post-process in Photoshop. We make it a point, because if you do that, it just slows you down. So how to render on Lumion, I used groups tools. And then, yeah, for sure, we do have June asking about making a video on modeling in SketchUp to render in Lumion. I've heard really good things about our gastropub tutorial, and that one is on our blog, and I know it's towards it's a little older, but it's still super relevant, and especially when it comes to modeling in SketchUp. And it's called like Model Types for Designers. Drafting. Let me see. I might have scrolled by it. I'm kind of moving fast here. 3D model types. Oh, well, let me see if I can search now. But if you check out, so I'll give you this pointer. On our blog, we do have a ton of really solid tutorials on SketchUp, layout, Lumion, and our Condoc tools. I think that we're going too old. I missed it, but it's there's a great. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. 3D model types for designers. This one is our gastropub tutorial. This is like definitely the workflow, and it covers from you know, what type of SketchUp model are you building. Why you make each one, you know, how you like turn it into a render ready model. And then down below, we have all of our SketchUp tutorials, and we have all of our Lumion tutorials. SketchUp tutorials, you know, those are super relevant, but the Lumion ones, maybe they need to be updated. It's been a couple years, but those are really cool. And then another place that you should look for some really good resources is on our tutorials page. And on the tutorials page, we have pretty much every single tutorial that we've ever made. It's all in here, all in one spot. And you know, you can sort by Lumion and then load more and just kind of cruise through here and like, you know, what do you feel like learning about today? You can just kind of pick all these different categories and see all these tutorials that we've made. All right. And so Brad asking a good question. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me scoot up a little bit. We got a few more. Can you demonstrate the photoreal billboard material? That might help with using other people. Absolutely. So Enrique asking a question about if I go in here to build, and I don't know if I have something readily available, but I'm going to place a new imported model. So we're going to import a new model, and I'm just not positive if I have something ready to rock and roll, but let me see if I can find under components, and we're going to go with Entourage and people and 2D photoreal. And let's see, we'll use, I think we can just use Karen and import her in there and say okay. All right, so I've imported a SketchUp model, all right, like that. Now, this is just a SketchUp model, and so when I orbit around, you know, she's just kind of this like flat material. So we need to go to our paint bucket or our materials and click on her and make her into a billboard. that is how you get a lot more variety in your renderings. And so I can tell you that we did start a project, a separate internal project of taking photographs of people, and we're not giving up on it yet. We've got a ton of these 2D cutout people, and so I think we do have a blog post that has like a starter pack on it. So maybe we'll look that up and throw a tweet out there or something, or a Facebook post, and let everyone know that like those are still available. But that's how you use the Billboard material. Yeah, so speed ray reflections, but sometimes glass doesn't render perfectly from all room scenes. So Brad asking about getting these reflections, like using multiple reflection control balls. And there's no real way to do that. You only get one reflection control. And so, to understand what that reflection control is doing, if you see the reflections in the glass right now, they're just based off a fixed point. So I can go to my objects, and under place mode, and what is it? It's not effects, it's lights and utilities, and here's my reflection control. All right, so then I can place my reflection control here. When I click, watch what happens to the reflections in the glass. See, it changed. And so then, I can move this up. But, I got to tell you, this is like, I just don't even rely on this in any way. The reflection control, it's basically like shooting an image in every direction and then using those images as the reflections. It just doesn't look good. So I just use reflection planes like I showed you, and then also speed ray reflections. And in my opinion, that gets you there, like if you add your reflections to this glass, it's going to look good. So, and let's see, this is where you run out of reflection slots. Yeah, so Enrique, great question about running out of these slots. So let me show you a little trick, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to demonstrate this exactly the way I want to. So let me try zooming in. All right. And so when I look at my reflections, all right, the reflection threshold is, it's like the reflection plane is on the glass, right? And so if I dial up the reflection threshold, it's catching like more stuff in the reflection, as far as like, this is my understanding of how it works, is like the plane it's catching more stuff that's parallel to it. So like that one reflection plane is going to work on this face. I just don't have a good way of like demonstrating that with this model, but that's what I would just dial up your reflection threshold, and then just be selective with your reflection planes. You don't have to have a reflection plane everywhere. You can use speed ray for sure, and then just the major surfaces like the floor, the big glass walls. But yeah, it would be cool if we could have 20, but like then you're going to bog down your machine. And I think the reason for that is just to kind of keep you in line. And if you add 20 reflection planes, it's really going to slow things down. All right. So then 3D mouse is no good in Lumion. So I've gotten used to the WASD. It's a little bit of a bummer that we can't navigate with the 3D mouse, but I don't know. Once you get used to it, it's faster just to zip around and not take your hand off your keyboard, not take your hand off your mouse, and just kind of navigate using the WASD. Or you can use the arrow keys as well. But yeah, no 3D mouse. And then also, Julian asking about the flicker reduction. If you have battling faces there, you can dial up your flicker reduction. That's there is a setting there in your reflections, but where I wanted to show you is like, and I don't have like a, we modeled this in such a way that there are not flickering faces, but what you can do is like pick a material And where is that? I haven't used it in a while. Flicker reduction. And what this does is it kind of like offsets the material off the surface. So if you have two materials that are like mathematically exactly the same and your graphics card doesn't know which one to show you, well, you can use that flicker reduction slider to kind of get one of them to just be a little bit further away. And so, you can use that flicker reduction. But I tend to just model things in such a way that I don't use that a ton, but that'll help. So, all right. So I've kept you guys here long enough. Let's do one more thing before I go. I'm going to head over to my desktop and my temp folder, and we've got our webinar and we've got our images. And so I'm going to right click and do slideshow and just take one moment to appreciate the fact that we were able to create these images. It was just a little bit over an hour. I mean, that's pretty spectacular to be able to turn out renderings like this that quickly. And I mean, not even just set them up, but render them, and they're done. They're out the door. So anyways, thank you guys so much for coming in today for our Lumion Workflow webinar series. Watch out, we got another one that's scheduled for July. We will let you know when we have that date on the calendar permanently and get you guys RSVP'd and aware. So please subscribe to us on YouTube. If you like what you saw, share it with a colleague. That's always appreciated. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.